I think people get a little ahead of themselves when they start with processes and they don't start with some of the other things that come before being able to automate them. You have to know what you're automating and you have to know why you're automating it. And I always talk about the need to be effective. Your process needs to be effective before you can make it efficient.
Let's be honest about it. It starts with a mess because you don't know what you're doing. It's just a trial and error. You try it this way, it doesn't work. Then you go to the other way, it doesn't work. But seeing where the process stops and you can see different ways to go around it or to go through it to get the result is what it helped us. As well, having every week a meeting to go through all of the processes, reviewing, okay, so we're right now in this stage and what was the outcome? Oh, this didn't work. Okay, so what about if we do it this way? And having that every week to know if this works, put it on a test. Now that we have different opportunities in there as well, and it's simple to have a draft, to have a test, start testing, start sending the messages and all of that. So that helped.
Welcome to the Property Management Success Podcast, where we interview leaders in the industry to uncover the secrets to profitability, efficiency, and achieving true freedom, whether it's your time, money, or lifestyle. I'm your host, Tony Klein, and I'm here to help you build a wildly successful property management business. Let's get to it. Welcome back to another episode of the Property Management Success Podcast. I'm here today with Ruth Ruiz from HBR Rentals. Ruth, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to chat with you. You and I met at a conference last year or maybe the year before, and we've seen each other a couple times since then.
Yeah, we saw each other on the Lead Simple University conference, yeah.
That's what it was. That's right. And so I want to kind of get into the reason that I wanted to have you on the podcast. You are a remote worker. A lot of people call them VAs. We're not really super fond of that term around here, and I think the reason for that is, VAs are virtual assistants, and I know you're real because I've seen you in person. I know it's not virtual, and I know that you do more than just the work of an assistant, and we're going to get into that. But if you could share with us a little bit of your background, the company you're working for, how long you've been working there, and what city you live in.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, I'm from El Salvador, a little country in Central America. I live in an area that is near to the beach that's called La Libertad. I live in a city called Lourdes. So I've been with HBR Rentals from September 2022. I started working as a not virtual assistant per se, as you said. It's more like helping the team with calls and reviewing stuff for the programs that we were using back at that time. Then I started working with Lead Simple, and reason why we met at the conference because I was helping my boss Karen Jordan to get a little bit more of the processes, how to create new processes for residents, tenants, and all of that. So I got that knowledge previously, and then I reinforced it with the conference and helped a lot. Now I'm working with Karen as an owner operations. I'm the main point of contact for all the owners, helping her as well with processes and auditing. And it's been fun. It's been a different ride that I was before because I was in the call center industry. So it's a very different way to handle and to do stuff. Being in a call center and now being like in a virtual office, helping everybody and having like face-to-face conversations with owners, with residents, and the whole team.
So I want to go back to something that you said about you started in a call center and you came on board, and now you're doing more owner reaction. And we've talked on this podcast in the past with some other folks about why they would want to hire a remote team member. Some of the audience may not have been real experienced with the whole concept of hiring somebody from a different country to help with their tasks that they need to perform in the United States. And so It's a concept that has become more and more familiar, but I think there are still people that have not leaned into, what do you mean I can have somebody working in a different country working on in my company? So I want to go back. What made you decide that you first of all wanted to look for an opportunity like this, and then how did you go about finding where you are now, and what makes you, if you're able to work remotely, there has to be something that makes you want to work where you're working, because you basically have the ability to work anywhere in the world if you were working remotely, right? So what would you look for if you're telling somebody that owns a business, this is what I would look for, this is what somebody in my position would look for as they're looking for a remote position?
Well, one of the things that you mentioned right now is I can work from anywhere. And having that capability, having that liberty, let's say it that way, to accommodate my schedule, accommodate everything that I'm doing on a daily basis, helping, that's one of the things that it caught my attention. Because I've just seen the working remotely and all of that, just, let's be honest, on movies and or on series, seeing people that were working anywhere in the world, and I was like, I want that. I want to, I don't know, go to the park, go to the lake, and work from there, and being just happy as not being in an office, not being just seeing four walls and limiting my capacity of giving more. So that's one of the things that took my attention, trying to work remotely. Then I started working remotely as well, because I was not living here in El Salvador. I lived in Belgium 2.5 years, and the culture in there is very different. You can work from home, you have different type of work in there, different type of jobs. So it was like an eye-opener being in another culture, and that helped me. Then when I came back here to El Salvador, I was like, I don't want to be in an office anymore. I want to manage my own time. I know that I can give a little bit more of my knowledge, and I wanted to apply that for a company. So because of the customer service background that I had, then I was in communication with a person that's Eddie, that he was working for Better Who by that time, and he helped me to start reviewing the stuff for working remotely, and he introduced me to this new way of work, and he was like, you have the capability, let's go ahead and see how it works. And that's when I started. Before of HBR, I was in another company that's Renters Warehouse, so I was working with them first, and then it's when I transitioned to HBR.
One of the things that I always find interesting when somebody brings on a remote worker or is a remote team member is the onboarding and what it looks like to get into the company, what the process is for you to become a true member of the team. And when you're working remote, you have very little interaction with the rest of the team, because if you're all sitting around an office and you decide to go to lunch, a lot of times a couple people will go to lunch together, or you hear things in the hallway. You might hear something about a client or a tenant, and you pick up things just through normal conversation. But when you're working somewhere that's not in that office, the only interaction you have with the company is when they have created intentional interaction points. So whether it's a daily meeting or a weekly meeting, or here's your training program, sit through and go through this training program. So what would you tell people who are trying to work with somebody and bring somebody on as a remote team member? What's the best way to help you get into the culture and help you understand what that business is all about and how to actually go about doing the work?
Well, one of the key points for me is having that interaction daily. Maybe not daily, depending on the availability of the person or the owner of the company. But for me, and one of the things that Karen has implemented on HBR is to have a daily meeting. So every day, 10, 15 minutes, we have that little interaction with all of the people that it's there in the States, and then us. Or because we're in different areas here as well. We are, let's see, 1, 2, 4, 5 remote team members that we are with HBR right now. So that having that little interaction every day, sharing our thoughts, having our questions answered on those little meetings, it's that made us being more involved with the company and to get to know each other a little bit more. Also, we have at least once a month we have like a party that when we have our favorite drinks, we do games, we do a lot of interaction with them there, so that helped us a lot. That was one of the things that I really loved of working like that, because even though we are not in the same room, we are not living in the same country, but those little moments that we have and we interact are key for us to bond and to know a little bit more of each other.
I want to talk about the process. So you were originally brought on to HBR to work on their processes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about that. I think a lot of people get really excited about, they hear the phrase, I got to automate my processes. And that's the hot topic for the last couple of years is I got to automate my processes. And I think people get a little ahead of themselves when they start with processes and they don't start with some of the other things that come before being able to automate them. You have to know what you're automating, and you have to know why you're automating it. And I always talk about the need to be effective. Your process needs to be effective before you can make it efficient, and you make it more efficient by implementing some automation. But for people who are looking at starting that journey, or maybe they've been down that journey and they just haven't been able to wrap it up or be able to get their hands around it, what does that look like? What does it mean to automate your processes? And we've already mentioned Lead Simple, so if you want to talk about that, I know there are other options out there as well. But if you're going to do some automation, what did it look like when you started? And then we'll walk through the journey of what you guys are actually doing now.
Well, it starts, let's be honest about it, it starts with a mess because you don't know what you're doing. It's just a trial and error. I mean, you try it this way, it doesn't work, then you go to the other way, it doesn't work. But seeing where the process stops, and you can see different ways to go around it or to go through it to get the result, is what it helped us as well. Having every week a meeting to go through all of the processes, reviewing, okay, so we're right now in this stage, and what was the outcome? Oh, this didn't work. Okay, so what about if we do it this way? And having that every week to know if this works, put it on a test. Now that we have different opportunities in there as well, and it's simple to have a draft, to have a test, start testing, start sending the messages and all of that. So that helped. One of the things that helped is that even though we didn't have like a clear idea of what we wanted to develop while doing the processes, but doing those tests is what helped us to get a good result. And then after you do all of that and you see that it's working is when we started adding the automation, because we are sure that everything that we processed or that we created and we built, it's done the way we want it, and then we can add the automation that can help us to not being so worried about, oh, all of these messages went away and I didn't know that this was working this way. But yeah, it's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah. So walk me through, as you're building out one of these processes, just give me an example of the name of a process that you guys have in your company.
Well, the one that we have modified a lot is the delinquency. Okay. Because what happens, maybe the resident has a problem with the payment And we send that out the message, and they're really worried because we had one resident that had like a back surgery, and he was not able to answer all of our interactions. So we were like, oh, what's going on? But then he communicated with us. But having that to review before, to having that little communication with them, is that help us to know, oh, okay, so we will do it on this date specifically, and after we do it this day, we will review first the background of the person, and then we will go with messages and everything. But that's one of the biggest ones that we worked on. Also, having everything for the application process, it was another one, because there's sometimes information missing, but now that we have the steps that we need to follow, it's very easy for Jack, that is the one that reviews the applications, just to approve everything, and then Walter, that is the one that's doing the leases, receives that communication and starts working on it. It's more smoothly as it was before, because before it was like, oh, I forgot to put this in the application, oh, I forgot to change the rent amount, and then when we were working on it, it was like, no, this is not correct, so let's do it this way. And that's what helped us too.
So when you have multiple people involved in a process like this, walk me through the build out of this process. Was this something that you or Karen said, we're going to do it this way, here are the 10 steps that we need to walk through? Or did you have a meeting with those two people and say, what do you actually do? Like, walk us through. Because a lot of people, I think, as they start to grow, they get to a point where they're doing a lot of work themselves, and then they haven't documented anything, whether it's on paper or with a software. They don't have anything documented outside of their head. It's just, it all lives in their head. And so they're so busy, they need to hire somebody, they hire them, and they check that box, and they're like, oh, thank goodness, I've got somebody doing that, and they walk away. And they don't do the training, and there's not that, what I call that one source of truth, where I can go and get the information I need as that worker to be able to operate with the authority, the ownership, and the autonomy to do the job. So what we do is we just hire somebody, stick them in that role, and say, good luck, and then it doesn't work out. So what did you guys do to be able to take your application process, for example, and create something that really works well across the departments or from one person to the next? Was it sort of a top-down approach or a bottom-up approach, or how did you go about just documenting those steps?
Well, everything started with a board and some Post-its. That's how we started with Karen. So we got on the board the team. We know what are the responsibilities, and so we started with Post-its. So Jack will do this, Walter will do the other one, and we had a breakdown. Then we had a meeting with them to ask them, okay, so we are building this process, and I know you do this, and the other party does that. So how can we combine everything? So the whole team that it's working on the application was involved, and then we were like, okay, so I do this, and then I do this. And then the other ones, so when I received the information from him, then I started doing this. And that's how we built it. We had it on the board. It was pretty funny because Karen was just moving Post-its around to get to the steps that we wanted to follow. And then we started the process. But always it's a big involvement of the team. They know the role, but as well they know their capabilities, and they give us their insights. So that helped as well to build a process that is not because I want it or because Karen wanted to be this way. It's because we discuss it and this worked for everybody. So we help each other on that approach.
So when you say plastics, that's like a little sticky note?
Oh, no, yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
This one's
Post-its,
Post-its,
okay.
Yeah, sticky notes.
Oh, the Post-its, yeah, I got it. Yeah. Okay. So we were able to just sort of have a big board and move things around, and each one of those little sticky notes or Post-it had a specific step or accomplishment that needed to happen. And then you move that around, and then you got the input. So now that we had that, did we move that to paper, or did we just immediately just start building that out into, when I say paper, I mean like a Word doc or Google Doc. Did we put it in something like that, or did we go straight into a process software?
At the beginning, we didn't. We went right on Lead Simple and we started doing that. Now we are working on having all of our procedures and policies on in a specific document that we all can have access to. But at that time, it was we were starting on all of the gist of Lead Simple and creating processes, and we were very excited doing all of that. Now that we have that, now we are working as well on get all of the information so everybody can have access to it and know how to do it.
What would you say, and you've been building out these processes for how long?
Since I started on 2022, then
Okay.
few months ago is that when I started doing the owner operations.
Okay, so we'll get to that. I want to stick to the process here for a minute. So with those processes, you've been working on those for a couple of years. What would you say for people who are getting into trying to document these things so that things are always done the same, so we don't have things that fall through the cracks? What were some of the biggest aha moments or biggest things that you learned in putting this together? And it could be something that was really good and positive, or it could be something that you learned that was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we've been doing this and we needed to fix it.
Precisely that part of why are we doing this? Why is this so complicated? When we got all of the information, it was like, this is not working. This is too much. So we tried to simplify it, and then we were like, oh my God, this is working. We didn't need 30, 40 steps. We just needed like 10 to go ahead and get that process going. But I will recommend to everybody that's working on processes to document everything, because I can say one thing today and it can work, but what happens if in few months this changes? Because the industry changes. The law can change, anything can change on that moment, so we have at least an idea of what we were doing, and then we can go and evolve and change it with the time.
Yeah, I like to equate that to if I wanted to build a high-rise condo building, I wouldn't just tell the construction manager, here's a set of tools and go build something. What I would do is I would first hire an architect, and we would document exactly what needs to be built. And we would put that down on paper, we put it into blueprints, and then we would hand those blueprints along with the tools and say to the construction manager, here's what I want built. Go build exactly this, no more and no less. And I think sometimes people who are building with the software, they get excited about the capabilities of the software, and they start figuring out how to make their process be modified to use what the software will do or can do, versus keeping it pure to this is what the process should look like. And sometimes people get excited about introducing bells and whistles or additional steps or additional automations that really don't need to be there. They don't actually add any additional value to the process at the end, but people get excited about using the tool in some new way that they learned.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So as you guys built this out, you're documenting now, and then you're taking what's documented and implementing that into Lead Simple. If you change Lead Simple, are you remembering to go back and update your document, or is that sort of just you do a review every now and then to make sure they're aligned?
We try to do both, but right now that we have a team member that is a process owner and he's in charge of reviewing all of that and creating the policies and everything, it's a little bit more standardized, it's a little bit more in order. So he knows that if everything changes, he needs to document it now on the knowledge base that we have. So now we have a person that is going over everything, reviewing that, and it's like, okay, we changed this, so we will document it so we don't lose that information or that part that we updated. Bless you.
Thank you. Yeah, so we'll edit that out. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about your journey there. And I think we opened the show with talking about the difference between a virtual assistant, somebody that's just, you're trying to figure out things to give them to do. They're really, and when I hear the term virtual assistant, I think of low-level results, low-level tasks, low-level responsibilities. When I hear about a remote team member, I hear of they're just a regular team member, just like everybody else. They just happen to be remote. And so I want to talk about when people are looking at bringing somebody on. Karen brought you on for a specific role, which was not necessarily public facing. It was, I'm going to hire you to work behind the scenes to document our processes, to put them into software. But at some point, obviously, there was a transition where she felt that you had the ability to be forward facing and work with the owners and the clients of the company. What was that transition like for you?
Well, since we have been always been very involved on everything that's done, I think having that capability of being involved on everything that is going on, and like every decision or every change that we're doing, that help you because you get more knowledge and you can add that knowledge to your day-to-day task that you're doing every day. So that's how that helped me. I mean, I started, yes, working behind the scenes. Nobody knew it was me. I was doing everything, but then I was like, oh, I like this. Can we help and explain this to the person this way? And then I think Karen was seeing the amount of knowledge that I was getting, and she was like, how about you help me with this? And I started helping with other stuff around. And then I liked it. We saw that it was working, and then since now we have a person that goes over the process and it's specifically for that, now she was like, okay, I know your capabilities, I know what you have learned, so then let's go ahead and move it around. Like having a career path, it was like a mini career path that we have there, but having those interactions, or at least being on the meetings as well that she had, because even though I was not talking to the person on the Zoom meetings or everything, but I was listening, and that helps a lot to get the knowledge. So now I know, oh, the owner is requesting this, so I remember that she said this on this meeting, so I will go ahead and reply this way. So that helped as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they are looking, a lot of property management entrepreneurs, they get in business with zero doors and they start building out their portfolio and they start creating these relationships with their clients, and it's all about that one-to-one. I'm your person, I'm going to handle everything, and then eventually they're like, I can't grow anymore because I'm handling everything, and they have to figure out how to let go of things. And it's been my experience that a lot of the entrepreneurs, they'll let go of having somebody else work with the tenants before they'll let go of having somebody work with their clients, because that's where that long-term relationship comes in with working with those clients. What would you say to somebody who's considering bringing in somebody to help manage that relationship with the clients? What would you say to them if you were to give them some ideas on how to let go of being the only person that talks to your clients and transitioning that into somebody else? And how would you make that go as smooth as possible?
Well, I will recommend, as you mentioned, to let go. I know it's not an easy thing to do, but it's when you get and you build a trust with your team. I will say that one of the things that helped me a lot, it was having cross training, because I got to know everything that was happening at the company. I know everything that's happening. It's not because we are know it all and or all of that. It's just because when there is something that's going on, a situation going on, all of us are involved. So I started like taking calls, doing little bit stuff, administrative stuff. Then I was reviewing the processes. I was working with delinquency processes, so I got to know tenant rules, how is it working. Then I moved to another process, let's say move up process. That was another one. I knew how the moving was working. Then we accepted the resident, everything until the end. And then I was having a little bit of interactions with owners. So it was step by step. I would recommend people that's getting a remote team member to always do cross training, because that helps a lot. Let's say one of the team members is not there, but you have the knowledge. You have at least the idea of how this is working. You can take over and help. Because if you are just one person just trying to hold everything together, it's not gonna work. It's like you have a big weight on your shoulders and you're gonna snap. So it's good to delegate and to let your team know what's happening or why it's happening.
So I can see cross-training being much easier when everybody is in one room or one office building. How did you guys go about, or how would you suggest that a company goes about doing that cross-training when, as we talked about before, the only interaction that a new team member has with the existing team is when there's been an intentional effort to connect people? So through that weekly meeting, through the daily huddle, through some intentional, hey, shadow this person or whatever, how would you go about making it as successful as possible to do that cross-training?
Well, I know that we are not in the same room, but shadowing and having a specific day, let's say a specific day every month where we go over those topics, and you can ask the person that is in charge of that department or the tasks that you're doing, so that person can prepare like a little presentation. It's like, hey, my title is this. These are the steps that I do follow. This is what I do on a daily basis, and the same team can train each other. That's how it worked for us. That's how we got to know each other works, or doing shadowing, like a little bit, half an hour, one time every week. So what are you doing right now? Oh, I'm doing this and this and that. Oh, can I join you? And then being in a Zoom meeting and sharing the screen and showing, hey, I'm doing this because of this, following these steps because of that, and that helped a lot.
Yeah, I like that. And on those Zoom recordings, do you record them so that they can watch them back later, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Well, let's start driving it home, and let's kind of start wrapping it up. I want to just get your insight in. Karen did a great job of letting go of some of that owner communication that you've taken over, and we've already talked about how difficult that can be for clients. What did you see anything change in the business? Did you guys lose accounts because she wasn't the person talking to them? Did you gain accounts because she was able to focus on other things? Like, what was there a positive or negative impact in her shifting out of that role and allowing you to shift into it?
I think the first impression was they were so accustomed to her replying, to her having the interactions, and then she stepping away from that, and we started interacting with them. It was like a little bit weird, let's say, with the owners, because they were like, oh, so Karen's gonna answer me, so Karen's gonna talk to me, but at the same time having the knowledge, having the training, and then helping them, replying them the way that we needed to, doing the follow-ups, that helped. So they know that they have Karen, yes, She was the person that she was their person that they were talking to her. But now we have other team members that they can help me. I'm not just gonna wait on her. And then that helped her to step away a little bit and having more clients with us. So it was like a little bit of fresh air for her as well, knowing that she has a team that is well founded that can help her, and feeling that support is helping her stepping back little by little, not all the way, because you will always be worried about your team and everything, but it helped her a lot.
Yeah. I think that in order for a client to accept communicating with a different person, there's trust and confidence. They have to have the trust that you can do the job and the confidence that you know how to do it and will do it right. And I think if you can convey those two things with your team, it doesn't really matter who they're talking to. Like you mentioned, it's a little bit weird if I'm used to talking to this person and I'm talking to somebody else, but you can you can shorten the length of time that it's weird by making sure that when they do have a question that we're providing the accurate response and in a timely manner. What would you say to people who are looking at doing this transition? How would you go about being proactive in building that trust and that confidence that whoever they're transitioning their role to, and having somebody be more of the person that talks to the owners, are there things that you can do to be proactive in building that trust and through communication? Or did you guys send out a notice or a video, or did you do anything?
Yes. Well, Karen loves to do videos. So when we did the transition and all of that, she made a video. She was a very short and sweet video saying, hey, here I'm Karen Jordan. Here's our team. So here is, for example, Liz. That's one of our rent-ready persons. She is the manager coordinator for all of the turnovers. So she presented it. Then she presented Walter, the one that is going to be in contact with the residents, to all of the residents. So she did various communication, letting them know, here's this person that's going to be helping you. I'm here. Don't forget about it, but here's the people that's going to be helping you in your day by day. And also we have a meeting every year with all of our owners. We invite them, and this is recorded as well. So the team are there. We present ourselves, and then this recording is shared with everybody, so they know who they can contact to if they have any questions.
I really like that. That's a really good idea, to get the team in front of the client to just so they meet everybody on the team, even if they're not somebody that they would interact daily, but somebody that's approving applications. They get to see who that person is, and it creates a real person behind just the name or the activity. I like that.
Also, with any resident onboarding, any owner onboarding, all the people that is involved in those processes are the ones that are on the Zoom meetings. And they as well, they present themselves, and it's like, hey, I'm going to help you with the turnover of your house. We're going to make it rent ready. Here is all of the information we need from you. Or here's the person that's going to help you with the marketing and help you coordinate the photography. Or here's the person that's going to help you with your residents if you have any questions. So we are always involved, and the people, even though we don't go to a physical office, but people can see us. And if you put a face on a name or an interaction, I think they accept it better.
I agree with that. Well, Ruth, it's been a real pleasure having you on with us. I want to give you an opportunity to, sometimes when we're having these interviews, there'll be something where I get really close to a topic, but then we don't actually touch on it. And there might be something that you'd like to share with our audience, something that you think I should have asked and I didn't, or something that you'd just like to talk about. So I want to give you this space to do that, if there's anything related to either process or your role or anything at all.
Well, Maybe not a lot because I know that we touched a lot of points today. But one of the things that I can tell you is that having a remote team member on your team, it can change drastically the way you do stuff. And having people that are very customer service prepared can help you a lot as well on everything that you're doing or any processes or anything. For me, it's a pleasure and it's an honor working with a company that I've never in any wild dreams I will thought of going to a conference or doing something like that. It's really great, and also having that trust from the company I'm working with. It makes me happy. It makes my heart happy because I know I'm doing a change in my way and I'm helping them.
That's fantastic. Well, Ruth, I look forward to seeing you at the next conference that we wind up going to. Again, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge with our audience. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And we will see you on the PM conference. If you go there, I will be there too.
I will be there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Property Management Success Podcast. We'll be back with another value-packed episode to help you level up your property management game. If you've got something valuable out of today's episode, please share it with a friend or colleague, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so you never miss out on future insights and strategies and tactics. Until next time, here's to your success.